start. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Subcommittee for Hertford Town Council on Monday, the 1st of March at 6 p.m. So the first item on the agenda is to establish if this meeting is being recorded. Nick, I believe we're live on YouTube, is that correct?
Correct, Chairman.
Yeah, and these meetings are available afterwards, aren't they, on the Hertford Town Council website or link?
They are. You can on the Town Council's YouTube channel. Yes, you can access all the.
Okay. Move on to any apologies for absence.
Okay.
Any apologies for absence, Nick? I think we're all present.
Chairman, no apologies. I think we are.
Yep, Councillor Lynch has joined us as well now, so we're all, as you say, present and correct. Item 3 then is any declarations of interest. I don't know whether that's Councillor Newton holding her hand up or just making herself look even more beautiful. Gotta be careful here.
Oh no.
No, so I don't think there's any declarations of interest, so we'll move on to item 4, which is to approve the minutes of the subcommittee meeting held on the 15th of February. Any observations regarding those minutes? Someone prepared to propose them as an accurate record? Thank you, Councillor Lynch. Do we have a seconder? I suppose I could second it, couldn't I? All those vote if you're happy with an accurate record of the meeting. Thank you. I believe that's carried. Councillor Pinkham, I don't know whether he intentionally withheld his vote or.
I thought you could probably do without it, but yes, I would have voted had I not been looking at my agenda.
Nick, sorry.
I mean, Chair, just to welcome the member of the public who just joined us, who will be speaking, who's requested to speak as well. So,
right, okay.
Margaret, just to welcome her to the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, once again, my camera's decided to play up, but I do feel I ought to be there for the benefit of anyone watching this. Bear with, I do apologise. Am I getting a message that I need a new laptop? Is this what it's telling me? Nick, is it okay for me to continue without being visible?
You should be seen. You do need to be seen and be heard on the so we do need to see you.
Okay, bear with. I'm cancelling all these messages saying that we can't see you.
Well, at least I can now hear you.
Oh, that's good. Good evening, Councillor Hunt.
I couldn't earlier.
Come on, machine. We'll get there. There we go. All right. I am back. So I apologise for that. So we're on to item 5, which is matters arising from the minutes not dealt with elsewhere, which is paper A. Nick, just any updates on paper A?
Chairman, I've had no updates on any of the items. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're on to item 6, which is statements from members of the public. And I believe, as you say, Margaret, I'm sorry, Margaret, I've not got your surname to hand.
Hi, thank you. It's Anthony, Margaret Anthony.
Oh, I beg your pardon. So, Anthony. So I believe that our civic administrator has explained to you that you'll have 3 minutes. Shall I get my clock going, or have you got yours going, Nick?
I can.
I've got.
Get mine.
All I've got to do is find it. There we go. So when you're ready.
Thank you. This is to do with the redevelopment of the site Tree Heritage. I wanted to put forth my view that I do wish to fundamentally object to the development of this site. It is on a green belt, and I believe that the proposed development would be harmful, especially the physical and visual coalescence of neighbourhoods. And I do think it would encroach on the countryside. Just from obviously the local area, I don't feel that there is an operational requirement for a residential development on the site. I think it would have a sustained impact on the openness, and I think once we've lost that, we're not going to get it back. I also do think that the design is quite cramped where they are proposing to put buildings. Nothing actually exists, it's just open grounds. There are buildings in and around the site quite loosely, and I think they are just pushing everything in a very cramped and causing something that looks like a built-up area that doesn't really reflect the local existence or the distinctiveness of the area. I did note that obviously that the council has accepted that this to be previously developed land. I'm not sure how that was actually decided. There are some agricultural activities taking place there, and I don't believe all of the site is previously developed land for that to be allowed. I also feel like there's a lot of good work taking place to restore the bean. I've been in touch with the EA and lots of good work is going there. And the site does obviously back onto the bean, and I feel like this would actually be very detrimental to all the good work that's taking place. You would have seen from the documents, images have been taken, but they are quite distant from the marshes, whereas where people walk along the marshes, these new buildings will be prominent and aren't very distinctive for this site at all. So I would conclude by saying that I do wish for this to be declined. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Anthony, for your input. You're most welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting. We will deal with this matter, I think, first, just so that you don't have to listen through all the other applications, but you are most welcome to stay and continue to watch our deliberations. But obviously, as you've just muted yourself quite, you'll need to be on mute. So thank you, Miss Anthony. So that was item 6 on the agenda. And we move on to item 7, which is to consider current planning applications. And this application is, I think, the last one on paper B, but we'll deal with it first. So Nick, I don't know whether you're able to bring up the application for tree heritage on North Road.
Super. If I could just, Chairman, I'd just also like to add, it's also on paper C because there was an updated application put in of less.
Indeed. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, so it's actually 6 dwellings. Yeah.
It's down to 5.
I think perhaps, I don't know whether it would help as a little bit of preamble, just to mention, obviously, that we considered this on the 23rd of October, where the town council actually objected, but this was granted on the 2nd of December, and the officer's report was worth a read, actually, to understand how they reached their conclusion. And the main reasons why they granted permission on this occasion was the reduction from 6 to 5 dwellings and the much lower roof line of having effectively 5 bungalows, I think with the maximum height being 4.2 meters or something. And those were quite specific reasons. So the footprint, the footprint of the new buildings was similar to the footprint of the existing industrial buildings on that site. And they were the main reasons why the planning officer recommended that it be approved, and obviously it was on the 2nd of December. So this is now a new application, and the main change, as far as I can see, and that's a very useful picture to have, is that they're now proposing that the 3 properties at the rear of the development, nearest the River Bean, are now they're describing them as 1.5-story buildings as opposed to bungalows. So that's by way of introduction. Now 6.9 meters high, where before they were 4.2 meters high. So having given that bit of preamble, I don't know, does anyone like to kick off or comment? Kick off as in start the conversation rather than yes, Councillor Ruffles.
Well, Chairman, I think we've got to be careful with our response if we're going to be in any way consistent with what we've said before. We may want to be inconsistent, of course, but for me, there's the awareness of what you just described in the terms of the professional's attitude and the grant of permission, and quite separately, the principle that we've addressed in the past about developing on this site. And although the principle side of things has been rather eroded against my personal wishes, as it were, I hope we can still restate our fundamental objection to the additional development on the site as part of whatever response we give, because to me it's a very serious step and I think we've used the term coalescence in our responses before, and I think that in planning terms is a very, very serious matter to consider. The importance of the gap between the two built environments of Waterford and Hertford. Great Mole Wood nearby is really a kind of full stop on development from my point of view, although there are a couple of properties further along the road and the nursery, you know, which is one. But fundamentally, Hertford finishes at Great Mole Wood for me, and Waterford begins really with the public hall. So that principle, I think, is one I hope we could include still as a fundamental objection, although we've got to pay attention to what we understand now as the planner's professional view.
Any other observations? Councillor Newton first. Sorry, just beat you to it, Councillor Toega.
No, actually, Councillor Toega put his hand up before me.
Oh. By all means, we'll have both of you, but
Okay.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I fully agree with what Councillor Ruffles has said. We last time had this principle of green belt, and I don't want a single house on that site, never mind 5. And the planners are ignoring the fact that it's green belt, it seems to me. They're accepting housing for whatever reason. The line should be drawn exactly as Councillor Ruffles says.
and Councillor Newton.
Yes, I agree with both my colleagues. You see, we put a very strong case because this is one of these opportune things that somebody's trying to push in. But despite that, the planners were fair, and so they've looked at it and they put in provisions. And I would have thought that the applicant would have been over the moon that they've got away with at least something that really fundamentally should not even be addressed. So I think we, as Councillor Ruffles says, we need to again state our concerns. To support what is my position is that they should adhere to what the planners have given them, because this is again a sneaky way through the back door. Then I expect we would, if we gave them this permission, there'd be another application for another sort of alteration somewhere around the side. And before you know it, they'll be back with their original application. So I am firmly against this being altered. I acknowledge what the planners have said and respect their reasons, but I think our original position was a sound one. And I'm very disappointed, like everybody else, that it seemingly wasn't sufficient to deal with this area. So that's my position there.
Hey, any other contributions? I'm thinking along the lines of something like the committee are alarmed at this new application. We continue to have grave concerns regarding the coalescence of the two distinct developments of Hertford and Waterford with the construction of these dwellings and the loss of openness in the green belt. Just while I pause for a minute, is there actually a footpath that comes under the railway line in towards the from the River Bean? I'm just wondering what view there is from that side, because you know, having these taller buildings, it would, you know, have a major impact on the openness.
Can I ask, Mr. Chairman?
From this side, you see what I mean? So I think what they're trying to get away with is, well, you know, 1.5 stories high from the road won't really be seen. It'll be shaded, you know, blah blah. But they seem to forget the openness viewed from you know, the River Bean, and obviously there is a path, the marsh. There is a footpath that runs along. I'm not quite sure where it. There we are. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's what I remember, that you can get under the railway line and it will be very prominent, these taller buildings. So perhaps we ought to highlight that as well. So the increase in, so Nick, the increase in height. Oh, hang on, Councillor Ruffles.
Councillor Ruffles, and then can I? Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say, Chairman, that yes, certainly you gain access from Benjo proper under that railway bridge, but the whole of the marsh is open to the public, and there is obviously a clear right of way as well, a proper authorised definitive map right of way. So the view from the marsh is just as important as anything you see from the road as far as openness and green belt is concerned.
Indeed. And Councillor Newton?
I just wanted to say that Miss Anthony phrased some very good reasons in a letter. I hope a letter, will that be going forward? And can we?
I believe it's been uploaded, or
can we?
I know that Nick suggested it was uploaded onto the portal, and will therefore have to be considered by.
Yes, I can add it.
It's really important that is attached to this application, so that it will then have to be considered by the district council and by the planning committee there. Councillor Pinkham.
Well, I mean, just simply to say this, that what our comments surely should say is whilst reiterating our opposition to the development at all, we now we're even more alarmed to see that the buildings have increased in bulk and visibility. And we're against the original. We're more against this. And it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, it has been granted, that the bungalows have been granted, and I think
exactly.
I won't say it's a lost cause, but unless the town council is proposing to take the district council to appeal or something, but I think we can fight this one. That's my point, and I think it's quite important, Nick, that we put in the loss of openness to the green belt when viewed from Waterford Marsh.
I agree with that. Of course I do. I thought what you were saying at the beginning was you didn't want to imply that the town council had come to, if you like, accept this development. I thought you wanted to say that we still hate the whole thing.
We do.
And we hate it more as a result of it being bigger. And then it's as simple as that, isn't it?
I think
you have to acknowledge East Herts have made this decision. They are the planning authority, and we can't overturn what they have agreed. So we're a bit stuck.
Unfortunately. But we can oppose this one, and I believe, Nick, we've put our points quite clearly. Do you want to just read back what you've got there?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. So I have put that the committee is disappointed that this new application, the committee are alarmed that this new application continue to just check, have grave concerns over the development and the coalescence of the between Hertford and Waterford. And particularly with the new increase in height of the buildings, especially when viewed from the Waterford Heath.
It's Waterford Marsh.
So Waterford Marsh, yeah. Thank you.
That's right. I think it's important that we say the increase in height from 4.2 meters to 6.9 meters. I mean, it's
unacceptable.
This idea that it's just 1.5 stories and it's not much. Well,
it is unacceptable. Can we have that word, Mr. Chairman, unacceptable?
And the impact on the openness of the green belt, Nick, if you can make sure you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll include that.
In. All right.
Accept.
So we'll now go back, I think, to our list, and the first item, which is 21 London Road. And so this is one that runs up from the Tesco's roundabout, as I like to call it, up towards the A10. That's in fact, the block plan shows it there. and it's quite a large 2-story rear extension. Anyone like to kick off in terms of this application?
I found this difficult to oppose, frankly, given where it is. I know it is a green belt location, but it's not exactly an area where openness is much available. And so I didn't feel that it could be opposed.
Any other observations? Do we feel it would have a detrimental impact on the neighbours as it's a semi-detached? I don't know whether it would have an impact on 31. No?
No.
All right, I think it's a no objection then, Nick. And we'll move on to 29 Westfield Road. So we did actually see this in December 19, when, as a town council, we had no objection to this application, and it was subsequently approved. They've now come back with alterations to fenestrations and external alterations, but I have to say I had to look at the application from December 19 to now, and there's on that rear elevation on the bottom left there, where now the extension protrudes out beyond the end of the original building line. That was really the only difference I could see between the application in 2019 and now. So I don't know whether anyone has any observations. So I think that's a no objection again, Nick. And we'll move on to 38 The Elms. So 38 The Elms, there was I'm not quite sure, a slightly different planning application, a permit to build or whatever, which was refused on the grounds that this extension was outside the residential curtilage. So we're looking at 38 The Elms now, and I don't know if there's a block layout or there's a block plan.
It's one of these sort of American style layouts, isn't it, where you've got a lot of greenness and the houses are dotted around in it, and apparently that land is designated as amenity land, and I guess that means it's an amenity.
This is the image I needed. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Nick. So
isn't this land is seen as an amenity for the houses around, I guess.
It's just sort of open to the road, and it's just a bank really, or it's just a sort of a sloping bit of ground, but it's not within the residential curtilage. That's, I think, was the issue. And so they had to apply to have a change of use from amenity land to residential in order to take about a foot of that land. I mean, I don't know whether anyone has any observations or comments.
Well,
Councillor Ruffle.
if it really is a foot, then I would have thought there ought to be a mechanism for the planners to grant permission for that foot only. But I would entertain that as an application, but it looks as if the whole of that amenity land has got to change its planning designation, and that I would be against.
I'm a little bit confused because the dot in that image there is, I believe, a lamppost. And so if indeed that land is going to be adopted by this house, what is a lamppost which is sort of public amenity in someone's private land? Is that?
Well, we've had examples of that happening, actually, Chairman, and being fenced in, not very far from this site. So the lamppost was indeed in a garden, and there was a high fence round it until enforcement ultimately took action.
And it is already in this house's land. It's just not in a part of this house's land that's designated for housing. That's
right.
Yes,
it's already not in part that. If that is indeed a lamppost, then it's not in a public place. It's in someone's private land.
So well, Nick, perhaps you can help us. That red outline, is that actually owned by that property?
Chairman, ownership doesn't come into it. That's the fundamental thing.
Ah,
So look,
Can I speak for a minute, please?
yeah, by all means. I'm sorry, Councillor Lynch. Yes.
I understand that lampposts are not normally placed where the light is shining into the home. And if we're looking at building being re-renovated and things done to it, that lamppost is, yes, in its property, but it's also shining into the property. And unless I'm wrong, and I'm sure Councillor Ruffles will correct me, but as I understand it, lampposts are not put where they are shining into people's homes.
Yeah, that certainly is an aim, Chairman, isn't there? And very often where a lamppost needs to be sited in the position that it could be doing exactly that, a shade goes up on the side of the lamp usually, and that sort of thing. But I don't think there's any rule or reg. There's just the consideration given to those who install, by those who install lampposts.
Thank you
Right.
for that.
So, with all that preamble, what's the view of the committee? Do we allow this?
I like Councillor Ruffles' suggestion. We give them a foot.
Agreed.
I don't
Okay.
think we'd be allowed to get away with that, Chairman, but I think that would suit,
Oh,
if it were, it would suit me and the applicant,
yes.
presumably.
So, Nick, I don't know whether we're able to put some sort of word in. The committee felt that the change of use should only apply to the footprint of the extension,
Yeah.
and not to the whole plot.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor Ruffles.
yeah, thank you.
That's helpful. Should we move on to 7779 Ware Road, which is the old, I believe, is the old doctor's surgery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wait for the systems to catch up. So, quite significant alterations to this property.
Extreme.
I will be quite honest, I struggled to understand what removal of condition 2 meant.
Well, before, I think the condition must have been, though I haven't been able to pick it up exactly, that they protect that extension. They're now saying, well, we can't, because we can't do the building work. It'll fall down on top of our builders. So what we're promising to do is to take an exact replica, build an exact replica after we finish the construction, as it were. So it's going to knock it down and build it back exactly as it was. I think that's broadly what they're saying. And
I ought to say, by the way, sorry, Councillor Pinkham.
I just found that hard to object to. At the end of it, we get the same thing.
I ought to say the original application we had no objection to, so I think, yeah, I've certainly no objection.
They weren't our conditions.
All right, so we move on then to 23 St John Street, which is actually the Catholic Church, for those of you know.
It looks better than what's there now.
John Street, yeah, indeed.
So I can't see how we should object to this.
So there's no objection to 77 to 79 Ware Road, and now we're going to look at the Catholic Church.
No, that's what. Sorry, Chairman. That's what I was saying. This little porch is actually an improvement.
An improvement. Yeah, I must admit, I thought so.
Yeah.
Any other observations?
No,
No,
I think
so
it's
no
okay.
objection. Obviously, there's the listed building consent and the planning application, both of which are no objection. And I believe that completes paper B. On to paper C. And the first item on paper C is 23 Tamworth Road. Erection of a front porch and erection of a single-story rear extension with roof lights. So let's maybe I don't know whether people would agree with me. Certainly, the erection of the front porch, it mirrors their neighbour's porch. And I don't really have any concern regarding the front porch?
No.
No. And then in terms of the single-story rear extension with roof lights, any observations? Obviously,
I'm sure
believe
it's okay.
I believe there's an access path, isn't there, down the side of this house? Am I right? So those
Yeah.
roof lights sort of do look out onto that space, but I don't think there's an issue really. My main concern, if any, was that the proposal is to have, and let me just see what I wrote down, aluminium doors and aluminium frame windows at the rear. And I just the treatment of that roof is go back to the side view again, Nick. So I got a feeling isn't it galvanized something or other, or what's the roof going to be here? Should just grey zinc roof covering and dark grey aluminium frame windows and doors. And I just wondered whether for these terrace properties, you know, that's the right sort of fenestration. Just an observation.
What?
Anyone have any views, or is it quite common?
What's the properties like adjacent to them or to it?
I'm not sure. Is it worth commenting, or am I being a bit too sensitive?
Chairman, it's the rear of this property. Had it been properties opposite, they are in the conservation area. This side of the street is not. And so it would weaken, if that's what you want to say, your case, simply because it's not in the conservation area.
Right.
And the fact that it's at the rear anyway, I think makes your case a little weaker still.
Okay. I just make the observation, that was all.
Yeah.
So is this Councillor Hunt? Do you have a?
Yeah, I thought they were in the conservation area. So but
No, the conservation
double
area.
check.
Oh, well, you may be right, but
No.
number 1 and number 3 are in the conservation area, and then beyond that, we're at number 23 now. I'm pretty sure are not, but the other side of the street is, and the other side of the street.
There's a street scene, but I suppose this is at the rear, isn't it? And therefore,
Sorry, I'm thinking the wrong side of the road, am I?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that a no objection then?
Yeah, so it's the railway side of the road. Okay.
I don't see why you shouldn't express some regrets about the material being shared, even if it's not in the conservation area.
Yeah.
There's no reason why the town council shouldn't say it's out of keeping those materials with the area. There's no reason why we shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
It may not get us anywhere, but if we don't say it, who is going to say it?
No.
Yeah.
How about Nick? The committee noted that the proposed rear extension utilises grey aluminium frames, door and window frames, I suppose, and was it grey galvanised roof or something? Can't quite remember. And this appears to be at odds with typical materials used
Yes.
in these period
Yeah,
properties.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the second application on paper C is tree heritage site that we've already considered.
Yeah.
So now we're moving on to 62 Port Vale. And again, we've seen this application before. And the application we objected to that on the last occasion was for a sort of a 2-story side extension. And they're now going for a single-story rear and side extension. And when we see the images, so there's a front elevation which I think would help inform the discussions, Nick, when we get there. That's it. Thank you. So the original application was refused on the grounds that it was overbearing on the adjacent property number 60, the other half, if you like, of the semi-detached. We objected on the grounds that it was overdevelopment, and I still feel filling in this gap with this. I think they're now calling it a porch. Still doesn't feel right at all. I don't know how other people feel.
Agree, Chairman.
Yeah, I support your thoughts on that.
I think it was going to be a glass door on the last application. Do you remember? Do people remember? It was a very strange looking affair. But so then they've also got this part 2-story. Now it was originally across the whole width of the rear extension. Now it's across half of the rear extension. It still seems to be quite overbearing, really. I don't know. You know, we haven't checked sight lines and things, but do we feel it's appropriate to have that 2nd story?
Can
Overbearing.
I ask Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Of course, Councillor, please.
Coming back with these variations, I take it the original applications did go through to East Herts, yes?
The original application, which it was last year, I think, was for a sort of 2-story extension right across the rear of the building, and they refused it on the grounds that it was overbearing on 60.
And did they advise the applicants to do something along this line? I'm just trying to get a feel from East Herts, really. I mean, I don't like it, but that's not to say that the East Herts planners may have advised something.
They may indeed. I'm not sure that we're aware, or we would know.
We've got that information. Okay.
I see Nick shaking his head, so
okay.
I guess we're not party to that, but we can just comment on the application before us. I don't know how people feel.
Agreed.
Really.
Do we still feel it's overdevelopment?
Yeah.
These are quite small properties, and I think we've said this before, isn't it? That if you want a bigger property, move. But,
Easier said than
what
done.
would be our grounds for objecting? Just anyone can help me here.
It's what you said, it's overbearing on the neighbours still, I believe,
Yeah.
for small properties in a confined space. And there are plenty of other properties being built around Herts, and don't we know it?
Is Nick able to give us an officer steer on the wording? Where's Nick gone?
I think we could still say the committee continued to object to this application. We know the reduction, you know, from 2-story to 1-story side extension, but it still appears to be overdevelopment of a small period property in the conservation area, and the 2-story rear extension may still have a detrimental impact on the other half of this, well, on number 60, I think we could just say. Is that sufficient?
Thank you, Chairman. That's helpful.
Thank you. So then we move to 38 Castle Street, and this is demolition of a 1-story rear projection and erection of a 1-story rear extension with flat roof and 2 glazed roof lanterns. So this is on the corner, isn't it? Number 38.
Well, number 40 is the new build on the corner, Chairman, but 38 is the last of the old pair.
Right.
38.
And I note that this the existing extension, as they call it, was built 5 years ago, and they're now proposing to knock it down and build something else with these what do they call them? They're not roof lights. They've got roof lanterns. Yeah. Anyone? Any observations? I personally had no issue with this. No. So no objection then, I think, Nick. And there's the listed building consent and the planning application. Both of those, from our point of view, are no objection. Then we move on to 69 Ware Road. Enlargement of bay window at basement level. And I don't know about anyone else, but I noticed that their adjoining properties have similar enlargement of bay windows. And I can't see any issue. As far as the insertion of 2 roof lights are concerned, although generally we're not great fans of roof lights on the front elevations. Unfortunately, they already exist on several other neighbouring properties, so it's kind of difficult to object. So I guess that's existing. And then where are these roof lights? There they are. And they've put in sort of 2 side windows on the bay on the front elevation there, you can see, and the roof lights are pretty high up actually. Any other thoughts? The rear infill extension, I don't have an issue with that. Nick, we seem to have lost your screen share. So any observations? Are we no objection on this?
Yep.
Okay, so no objection then on 69 Ware Road. We then move to 13 Stoke Close, where there's a single-storey front extension. So that's up on Foxhole Stoke Close. Just waiting for the images to catch up. So Nick, we haven't yet seen the screen update. Oh, there we go. So this is 13 Stoke.
Works, yeah.
Yeah, indeed it is. And then, I think actually, is it possible to see the plan, the proposed plan, rather than the site plan?
Site plan.
The and then the actual building plan. So these are the elevations. The reason I'm asking for the plan, there is actually somewhere which shows which rooms are where inside. So there's the plan. I don't know.
Oops. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So on the left is existing, and on the right is what's proposed. So what they're proposing to do is to knock the wall through at the back of the property into the garage, so that the kitchen extends right across the building, and then the garage, and by then extending forward in line with the front door, effectively that they've moved the garage forward, but they've retained their garage. And I actually think that's, well, we always regret the loss of a garage, and on this occasion they've retained it. So I've certainly no issue with it. Any other comments?
It's fine.
No. So thank you, Nick. It's a no objection to 13 Stoke Close, and we move on to 66 Rib Vale. And this is 2-storey front extension. So Rib Vale, the last time that this was before us, we had no objection. It was refused by the district council, and it was refused on appeal. And that was a single-storey front extension that was refused on appeal. They're now coming back with 2-story front extension and partial garage conversion. Anyone, any comments on this?
Seems
So-
odd they come back with something bigger. If it was, do we know why this district council have turned it down?
Did I write that down? I didn't. Yeah, hang on, let me think about it.
I think we thought before that it made the house look more attractive than it was before.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I still do, even with the bigger extension.
I think it might have been something to do with the scale of it or something. It was,
Yeah. So they come back with something bigger.
well, without going back into the papers, I'm sorry, I didn't make a note of that.
No, sorry, I should have looked.
We had no objection on the last occasion. I have to say, looking at these elevations and the plans, I have no objection on this occasion either.
Agree.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's a no objection, Nick. We'll move on and leave the planners to their deliberations. Now we move on to number 2, St Leonard's Road. Now this is a subdivision of an existing bungalow to create 2 dwellings. So it's a sort of L-shaped bungalow at the moment. There it is, number 2. I say L-shaped, it's not quite L-shaped, is it? But, and that's actually quite a useful view to have, actually, Nick, because the main change, I suppose, the building itself is just being subdivided, but they're going to put a second driveway in, effectively to the right of the number 2. So there'll be another access point onto the road, so that they each have a driveway and 2 parking spaces. That's the main impact, really, I would say, externally.
I don't believe it would stay as a 1-bedroom house, but I don't think we can object on that basis. But I mean, it's an area for detached bungalows, really.
Who owns these? Is it a housing association?
No, Chair, I very much doubt it. They were built probably 50 years ago, 40 years ago, privately, the row of them, and not by.
Mm-hmm. Do we regret the loss of a family-sized bungalow?
Not really.
Or is it the way of the world now that people want one-bedroom properties and 2-bedroom properties? Which is what I think they're now proposing.
Well, they need somewhere for their laptop to carry on zooming, won't they? Room for the future.
I mean, I personally do feel that there's such a scarcity of a sort of a family-sized bungalow these days. That and they're not being built. So when you start converting the existing stock into 2 flats or whatever, I do personally, I am a bit concerned. I don't know how other people feel.
I fully agree.
It's a money-making venture, isn't it?
Chairman, I wonder if we, I don't know which way we're going on this, but would it be a suitable moment to suggest the planners put some kind of control over the raising of the height of the bungalow or the 2 bungalows, if that's what they become? While they are making a planning decision, can they not impose that control?
Yeah, I think that's quite a valid point, really. So Nick, how about something like the committee regret the loss of a family-sized bungalow with the subdivision of this property, and would wish to be reassured that the height of these properties will remain as a single-story dwellings. So are there a row of bungalows along here, Councillor Ruffles, or is this?
Yes, yeah.
in keeping with the surrounding properties. Yeah. So if you just add that footnote, if you like, Nick, in keeping with the surrounding properties, you know, there's no increase in the elevation. Elevation, is that the right word? Height. And then we move on to 96 Cowper Crescent, which is a retrospective application for a loft extension. Presumably meaning it's been built already.
Oh,
Any observations on this one? I thought we'd seen this property before, isn't it? It's just rather strange property, as I recall, with the front door on the side of. It's a sort of L-shaped, the building, isn't it? It's an L-shaped semi. If we just go back to that block plan again, sorry, or location plan, whichever. That's it, yeah. So there's 96 is part of, you know, there's, although it's semi-detached, it's sort of slightly strange layout. But having said that, did anyone have any objections to this? There's a silence.
I
don't think there's any harm to the street scene in Cowper Present. I mean, it's
What was the reasoning behind? Was it just that they were advised wrongly, or they just didn't think they needed planning, or they were trying to get away with something that probably might not fit the bill? What do we know that? I hate retrospective planning.
I'm not aware.
Okay, I can't answer that.
No, Chairman, I can't answer that either. I'm not aware of any details.
Just give me a moment.
Right.
I should have been better prepared. And let's see what comes up. Right. So last year in September, what's a PNHH? Does Nick, do you know what PNHH means?
Chairman, no, I'm afraid I don't. PHHH.
Free
No.
something or other. Let's have a look. PNHH is not required, was the decision notice. I don't know what PNHH means, but let's have a look.
The HH is
Prior notification, I think.
householder. Yeah, prior notification householder.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's going to be very, very low headroom in this loft extension.
Prior approval is not required, but that's
It must be.
for the PNHH. But yes, that doesn't really help us much, does it? Bear with.
It's a very
We
strange.
commented on it before, I think. I don't know what we commented on. And then there was an earlier application. And this was a CLPO. Oh. A certificate of lawful proposed application was refused on the grounds that a full planning application was required. So this is why, yeah.
Ernie's got his hand up.
I'm sorry. I'm just. I'm on the. I apologise. I'm on the district portal looking at the applications.
I'm bothered by this, but never mind.
Sorry. Who? Sorry, I haven't spotted.
Councillor Sriga.
Oh yeah. Please, Councillor Toega.
Could we perhaps just say one of our standards, we regret loss of a bungalow, and let the planners work out whether we just let it go or I don't know.
Right.
It's not.
I would be happy with that observation. Are we happy with that? So Nick, Councillor Hunt, please.
I'm just looking on Google, Google Street View, and I'm not sure if I'd be totally happy with it if it came up. It's a sort of big dormer window sticking out the side of what was quite a nice, attractive looking house.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can you read the measurements on that? They look like something like 190 something.
No, 1.7. But maybe you could zoom in a little bit for us, please, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's
Yeah,
1.7
3.5 meters.
I mean, that's a ridiculous headroom.
It's huge. Yeah.
You're going to be walking around, ducking. I mean,
I'm not content with this. It's something bothering me, but I can't think of a planning reason to say no. But I don't like it. I really don't like it.
It represents poor design, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all wrong on all fronts.
Yeah. I think we can. I think we can say that. I think the committee are concerned that this represents poor quality of design.
Yeah.
With a disproportionately sized dormer applied to a bungalow.
The property next door, I was trying to have a look. It might be an overlooking issue here as well, because the property next door is a 2-storey with a window in the side, and I think that dormer points straight at it. But the Google Street View is as was.
Yeah.
Wish I could show you it.
Yeah. There's also concern that adjacent properties may be overlooked, and the committee regret the loss of a bungalow.
I just find it
hasn't
non-opening windows. Really?
Does it?
How's this for technology?
Oh right. Oh, you're showing us a street view, are you?
Not sure. I don't think it's working.
There's a much easier way, Councillor Hunt. We could just ask Nick to allow us to share our screens.
I find it really hard to believe that this complies with building regs. It's not high enough. It can't go any higher because of the roof line, but it's not high enough to be a. I mean, just take a look at your own windows and how close they are.
I think we've already said it represents poor design.
Yeah, very hard.
So Nick, are you okay with those comments?
I can knock it down.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
All right, we better move on then to Coal Green Barn. And this is a change of floor plan and elevations to a previously
it's still a barn.
Class
it's still a
huge
size
scheme. Yeah, no, it's a barn conversion, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, that's right. So, I mean, I found this really quite difficult to get annoyed about. There it is. It's the same footprint. They changed the look of the internal design. I found it hard to get excited about.
I have to say,
Chairman, I think.
Similar.
Forgive me. When this came last time, I think I sat out. All right. So
I'm sorry, Councillor Newton.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't catch that.
When this came forward last time, I sat out.
Right.
I wasn't part of it because I do know the people. So I'm going to disappear for a moment. I will come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nick,
Thank
you could just note that Councillor Newton has now declared an interest in this application, so is withdrawing from the discussions. Perhaps we could amend.
Thank you, Chairman.
The notice at the beginning of the meeting. I have to say, also found, okay, there's changes in windows and so on, but I couldn't get excited about this. Any other observations? Obviously, it is in a bit of a sensitive area down St Mary's Lane. But,
it's a nice barn conversion. If you're going to convert barns,
yeah,
this one's as good as any.
So we'll go no objection then to the change in plans. Okay. Perhaps we could invite Councillor Newton back into the room, as they say. Welcome back. And we're now considering 21 Dimsdale Street.
Oh.
Now, 21 Dimsdale Street, some of you may recall it's around the back of, now you're going to test me as to which church it is.
Yeah, that one.
That one, yes.
United Reformed Church.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ruffles. And it's in that corner where I think 21 has been converted into about 3 properties now. And it's
roof lights at the front in the conservation area.
And they had this huge dormer on the back of the building, if you remember, that ran across the whole width of the property. And they've now, and thank you very much, yeah. So, so certainly there've been some comments from neighbours objecting to this new application on the grounds that there are currently no dormers on that rear elevation, and so that roof line at the moment is unbroken, and it's quite a long row of properties, and so that's the front elevation. They continue to have roof lights. I think I can't see how our comments would change very much, except the issue I have, if we look at that view, is that as has been pointed out by one of the neighbours' objections, there are currently no dormers on that. There's quite a long line of roofs at the rear of the properties with no dormers on, and here's someone proposing to stick one in.
That said, it's Hertford higgledy-piggledy. I couldn't really get excited about that rear dormer, but I do get excited about front roof lights and in the conservation area. But so I think our comment should remain as it was.
And the dormer, do we have a concern about it? I mean, the design is now better. Is it still out of keeping with its surroundings?
No, even just because there's an unbroken roof line. Hertford is like that, up and down, all over the place. That's what it's like.
Councillor Toega.
What do we think about the objections of the neighbours backing onto it from Brewhouse Lane, who do not want dormers because they say they will overlook their properties? I don't know how we feel about that.
If it's an overlooking issue, that's different.
So we all obviously it's a 2-story building with windows looking out over the rear of the property. Is that additional elevation going to create further overlooking? I suppose it's possible, isn't it?
Well, you've got that extension anyway, which tends to block the view down into the garden next door. But the other house, the other side, maybe not.
Yeah.
Has there any objections come in?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah, a number of neighbours do object, and several of them are regarding overlooking. So perhaps Nick, we could say that the committee continued to object to the insertion of roof lights on the front elevation, creating a precedence where none currently exists on the front of properties in Dimsdale Street. Whilst we acknowledge that the proposed rear dormer is now smaller in scale, we note a number of objections from neighbouring properties concerning the issue of being overlooked. Are we happy with that? Nobody's violently objecting.
No,
So
it's fine.
we'll move on to Midway, Highfield Road, which is an interesting building. It's currently quite small by Highfield Road standards, because it's a sort of infill, I think, someone's side garden. And it's a strange plot because the plot is narrower at the front than it is at the rear. It sort of opens,
Yeah.
being someone's garden, I guess.
They've acquired some additional land, haven't they? It's in the conservation area. It's not a remarkable house, and it looks as good at the end as it did at the beginning. And as you say, a lot of the other buildings in that road are bigger. So I find that hard to oppose.
I'm of that view as well, Councillor Binkham, unless anyone else has got any.
No, I agree.
So there's no objection then, Nick, excuse me, to Midway, Highfield Road, and we move on to 52 Tamworth Road. So this is a ground floor side and rear extension with lots of solar panels on the new extension. And a question I had in my mind was, why don't you just put them on the existing roof?
Why?
Why do you have to put them down the side of the building and in quite a prominent location because of the openness of the side of that building? That was my main observation.
It is
I
not
think
actually.
I believe
it
it's
works.
a single. Is it a single story down the side? Second floor rear extension. I don't know whether we've got any views.
Well, I agree with you about the conservation area impact at the side of the property. Certainly that is bound to be, isn't it? Because of how it relates to that driveway, as it were, next to it.
It could be that is the best position for the sun throughout the day or something.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you put them higher up on the existing roof or on that second story extension? I just think, are they not a bit of an eyesore at that level? I don't know. Am I being too sensitive again?
No, I don't think you are. This is in the conservation area. I don't think it's appropriate. There are more sensitive sorts of panels. I mean, that's not enough panels for that building anyway. And they're in the wrong place.
But if they were higher up, I mean, they'd still be south facing, if indeed that is south facing. I don't know. It's the eastern elevation. I have to think about this. I think it probably is south facing. But why not put them on, higher up, so they'd be less obtrusive?
Surely the eastern elevation can't be south facing, can it?
There's I don't know. Yeah, I have to get my head around this as well.
It's the northern elevation that's no.
We're going to
It's the
struggle.
southern elevation that's south facing, surely.
I'm throwing you, haven't I? But either way, I guess there's enough sunlight for them to work. But, I think perhaps, Nick, we could start with a committee are concerned about the impact of the side extension in the conservation area due to the openness of the side of the building.
It's completely. I mean, that extension is architecturally completely out of. It's out of context with what's around it, isn't it? I mean, it's a very modernistic look they built on the side. It seems to me,
and it's out of keeping with
yeah
the similar properties in the area. The committee also felt that the solar panels could be mounted higher up on the existing roof and new extension, where they would be far less obtrusive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do we need to say more? I think we we said it's out of keeping. So do we actually object, or is it just concern?
I think we should object. It's a bad design for the. There are better things they could have done with
Councillor
that.
Twigger, you're nodding. Is that an objection?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what's being said. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're elevating this, Nick, to the committee object to.
Okay.
Inappropriate design or modernistic design in this conservation area, out of keeping with surrounding properties, etc., etc. We're then on to Mole End, High Molewood. Which is in the green belt. And of course, the committee are going to regret the loss of a garage.
Only partially.
Yeah, it's very partially, yeah.
Well, they're going to end up with a storeroom, I think, aren't they? With what they've done, if I recall correctly. Yeah, there's the garage. It's now, I don't know, you couldn't fit a smart car in it, could you?
No.
Looking at the proposed ground floor plan there, if you could just perhaps see that again. There's the existing, and then where's the new?
Why am I not getting it?
So
Existing proposed.
the garage has been cut in half, basically, so it's, I thought it was half a garage. Was I right or not?
Yes, correct.
If you're able to just,
that's existing.
so we can see the top half, Nick,
Proposed.
slide up the page a bit. Oh,
Above, okay. That bit.
that's it. So the garage now is effectively a storeroom,
Zoom
isn't
out a
it?
bit. Oops.
Not a garage anymore.
Oh yes, yeah, yes.
Yeah, and they've taken most of the garage to be a snug.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is a
Yeah,
snug?
yeah.
Personally, I don't have much else to say. I don't know how. So it's an infill of that sort of terrace bit that they're going to turn into. So do we regret the loss of garage and leave it at that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nick.
Chairman, a normal reason for regretting the loss of garage is the impact on the local street scene in consequence, but there won't be such an impact here.
No.
No, I don't.
Therefore,
And maybe then.
sorry, Councillor Pinkham. Sorry.
I don't think there will be any impact from the loss of garage. I doubt if it's used now.
Sure.
It's I don't think we should object to this.
I agree with Councillor Pinkham.
All right. It's a no objection, Nick.
They've still got
Okay.
room for some bicycles.
I'm sorry, Councillor Hunt.
They've still got room for some bicycles.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, absolutely. To be encouraged.
Electric bicycles.
Yes, the committee recommend the installation of a cycle rack. No, I think we better move on here. Number 7, Beechwood Close. This is, again, it's sort of an interesting property in that the double garage is sort of 90 degrees to the main house. It's a bit odd, but and then there's a private road just beyond the property.
And the house next
the
door.
the cul-de-sac you see sort of to the left of the block plan is actually a private road, I think. It's quite strange. But having said that, on the back of their double garage is another sort of detached garage. So on the other side of the boundary. So it's a funny setup. But all of that said, they now want to put a first floor extension over the existing garage, and I have no objection. I don't know if anyone else has any observations.
Nice bit of design, actually. If neighbours don't object and don't seem to have done, then I don't think we should.
Yeah, it's quite secluded as well, actually, in that corner. I don't know if people know it. So, we agreed it's a no objection?
Yes.
Okay, Nick, that's a no objection.
Okay.
And I believe we've now completed the planning applications. We'll now go back to the agenda. And we are on Paper D, item 8, decisions received from county and district council. Any comments from paper D on page 7?
No.
No. So then we move on to the licensing application, which is, this is the BP garage, is it?
Tesco, isn't it?
Tesco's, isn't it?
I beg your pardon,
Tesco's,
Tesco's.
yes.
Thank you. Who would like to start on this? I don't know whether you're able just to put the, or let me share the screen, or put the application up as it's on page 9 of our
Yeah.
agenda.
Second. Yeah.
Chairman, while that's happening, it
Can
seems
do.
that we get this pretty late in the day. It's been since the beginning of February, and we've only got a week. Should we, run into any difficulty with it?
Right.
The closing date. It seemed a bit of a squeeze for us.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're new to it, and I wonder whether the source, those who provide Nick with that information, haven't sort of caught on to the parish council's operational levels, as it were, fortnightly meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Nick, any observations as to why we couldn't maybe have considered it 2 weeks ago? Have we lost Nick? Oh, no.
Yeah, probably didn't have it.
Well, yeah, when Chairman, just to add, I do normally check the East Herts website when we issue the agenda. So it wasn't previous on the previous committee. It wasn't available on their website. So I don't know whether it had it, but it hadn't uploaded it.
Right.
It wasn't available for us.
Okay.
But Chairman, is it not for them to send the application to us rather than our officer, scrutinising?
Yeah, I wonder, Nick, whether you could just take this up with the licensing officer district, just to say, when these applications are received or whatever, are they able to forward them on so that the town council has, time to give full consideration?
Yeah.
Yes, certainly, Chairman, I will do.
So, in summary, they want to increase Monday. Currently, they have an alcohol license from 8 o'clock in the morning. They want to make it 6 o'clock in the morning, and currently Friday it's currently 11 o'clock at night, and they now want to make that midnight. And the issue I have, I don't know whether people are familiar with the grounds for objecting, but there's only 4 grounds on which we can object. I'll just quote them. I have myself ready to do this, but forgive, I will find these ones, unless anyone's ahead of me on this.
Can we take the last planning off the screen?
I'm sorry?
What are we looking at? The last planning application still, are we?
We're looking at a licensing application by Tesco's.
Yeah.
Oh, why is on the screen? I beg your pardon. Yeah, Nick,
on the screen.
You're still sharing a planning application. I don't know whether you're ever able to share page.
Tesco's or?
Tesco, page, I'll get there in a minute. I think it's page 8 of our agenda.
Page 9.
Shows their license application.
Take the old planning application off.
I'll share it if not.
So there's four reasons: prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children from harm, and public safety are the 4 grounds. I have an issue with the idea of people falling out of the pubs at 11 o'clock and rushing into Tesco's to buy, copious quantities of alcohol. So I do have I don't see why there should be a need to extend their licensing to beyond 11 o'clock. I don't know whether other people have a view.
Fully agree.
fully agree.
There haven't been any issues around it.
I mean, at the moment, people go to the off licenses in town, don't they, to get their top up when Tesco's open
Well,
up.
the
Do
thing
we
is,
feel
if
it
they're going to be able to buy it at 6 o'clock in the morning, they don't have to rush off at 12, will they? At night.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't have it both ways, surely.
So I don't know whether we feel.
I think that there is a
Well,
danger.
where do we begin? Do we begin with the? My reading into this is that it's operationally a lot easier for them if they open the doors at 6 a.m. or if, you know, but they're 24 hours, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not an operational issue, this really, is it?
Are they 24 hours now? I thought they.
It's stop,
Oh,
I thought it's stop 24 hours.
Apart from Saturday night or Sunday.
So
I think, Mr. Chairman, all the reasons you gave for us to be able to object, I support.
Yeah.
So I object.
Yeah, I think that's right.
At 6 o'clock in the morning, what would be our principal concern? Would it be
6 o'clock? I'm not too. I mean, if they're good enough to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they deserve to perhaps buy some alcohol. I don't know why at 6 o'clock in the morning, but certainly all of the other ones at midnight, public order offences, one thing and another. I feel strongly about. As for 6 o'clock in the morning, well, what is it currently at the moment?
8 o'clock?
Well, let's
You won't.
I think.
let's give
So
them
if
7.
we deal with one at a time, so in terms of the Monday, they wanted from 6 o'clock, where currently it's 8 o'clock. I don't
I've got no
think
problem
we have
with
an
that.
issue with that.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, they want it until midnight.
And
I
that's
think we would, the committee would have concerns, or
yeah.
the committee would have concerns about a possible public nuisance of extending the hours beyond the normal closing hours of pubs in the area.
Pub closing hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pub closing hours, public house closing hours, and then so that deals with Friday and Saturday, and then from Sunday, they currently have a license 10 till 4, and they want to have a license from 6 in the morning till midnight on a Sunday.
No, it's 6
All right.
Councillor Tuega first, sorry, as you had your hand up.
Sorry, can't we object to any extension of Sunday trading hours? Is that not possible? I know it's not exactly in the category, but
I think it's a slippery slope personally.
yeah.
Councillor Hunt.
It just looks for those hours there. It just frankly looks like they want to extend their opening hours because they shut at 4 o'clock on Sunday anyway.
I think they're future proofing their licensing application.
I get the thing about 11 o'clock and the pub shutting. I have no objection to any of it. If somebody wants to get up on Sunday morning and go to the Tesco's at 6 in the morning and prepare for their Sunday roast with a couple of bottles of wine or something, I've got no objection to that at all.
Well, how about
we
say on a Sunday that we feel that their licensing arrangements should be in line with their opening hours?
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that's what they're trying to do. Well,
they're not open from 6 a.m. in the morning till midnight on a Sunday. They're only open from 10 till 4, I think, at the moment, or 4:30, I think it is.
Yeah, 4 o'clock. Yeah.
So I can't see why they should need. I think they're just trying to get it through.
Yeah.
Well, I object to it. I've got to say on the principle.
Yes.
But I don't know whether we've got grounds.
Well, children. I mean, it's Sunday. One of the issues was harm to children.
It was.
You know, public order. I mean, okay, fine, drink from 6 in the morning till whenever at night.
Yeah.
It's not a pub, it's a supermarket.
It's a supermarket.
Yeah.
By that, I mean that you don't go there to buy alcohol at 6 in the morning so as you can start getting slosh from 6 in the morning. You're likely to buy it for your Sunday to go with.
And the committee feel that extending the licensing hours on a Sunday
is not appropriate.
Is not appropriate. May lead to
I think at this time,
further public nuisance. I don't know.
yeah, with the national statistics that are clearly showing, and I know this is a pandemic, so maybe it won't happen afterwards, but hey ho, the increase in alcoholic consumption is quite considerable, and there are a lot of concerns, and
Yeah.
this would just feed into that, I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah. So have you got our concerns, Nick? We don't like it, I think, in summary.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back.
Chairman,
to
yes,
our
thank you.
agenda.
Thank you.
I believe that was the only licensing application, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
I'll just go back to finish off the agenda.
Yes, Chairman, thank you.
Yeah. So item 10, any correspondence appeals that we need to be aware of? Nick? We lost Nick. Oh no.
Chairman, just one. Apologies, Chairman. My internet connection seems to be a bit unstable tonight.
Yeah.
But just apologies just quickly because I know we've got another meeting in 3 minutes' time. The tree heritage nursery site for 6 dwellings from 2020. The application from 2020. Just to make you aware of.
All right. Thank you. Any items for future agendas? With 3 minutes to go, then I think we better finish this meeting, Nick. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and nice to see
Thank
everybody.
you.
Indeed. Keep
Yeah.
safe and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Nick.
everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you in a minute, Nick.